Hi everyone, as you can see, I am currently sitting in our van or motorhome or home on wheels as many people call it. It is quite a small unit and I wanted to share that with everyone in today's video and go through the reasons as to why we are choosing to live in this van permanently and moving to Scotland in a few weeks, and literally with no sort of traditional house setup where we come back to a house every time, we go out into the world and come back. It's going to be like finding spots along Scotland and having some incredible adventures. And I've just set it all up, so now it is our home. So I'll quickly show you guys the van itself and everything that's in it, and how literally every single thing that you see in a house kind of has fit into a van. And it's absolutely incredible to have everything so minimal, so small, and just have everything in one kind of unit. And it's amazing. So I'm going to show you that, guys, now. So everyone, this is the van. So I'm going to quickly show you a tour. So we start off with the driver's seats here. And if you literally walk through, it enters the house. So you can see the sitting area or living area. It's just a little small space to sit in. And then if you move right across, obviously my stick, but we've got the toilet, the sink, and the shower. And it's all in like this small space, which is really, really good. Really basic. And then it's literally just the bunk bed for the kids. And then if we move across, we have the kitchen unit. So we've got the hob, the oven, the sink, and the fridge is here. And there's also a heater here. And then we've got 3 storage units to put all the stuff, not that we have a lot of stuff. And then we've got the wardrobe here to put all the kids' clothes in, which is great. And then the last thing is the double bed, which basically you just have to put the ladder here, and then make my way up, and yeah, that's it. So that's the entire home. Yes, and you guys, living off grid, because this is living off grid, it does require more work. Obviously when you use a toilet, you have to actually empty the contents yourself. It's not like it's connected to anything, like a sewage pipe thing, and you have to actually fuel the water tank, which I'll show you. So you will have to actually fuel the water, and making sure you're on top of it, and for heating, we're probably going to use a lot of fires in the outdoors. And obviously there's this as well, which runs on gas, and the gas has to be, refueled occasionally when it runs out. It's very different lifestyle, compared to like everything being attached to the main. So I feel like I'm going to do so well with it. I feel like I find it so interesting to just live off grid. Now I'm going to just go into this a little bit deeper as to why we have chosen this kind of life that is very, very different to the norm. Okay, so I'm going to go through those deep reasons. So I'll start by saying this year was that year where I had a very big calling to go into the wild. Okay, and it's a bit like that film Into the Wild. I don't know if everyone's seen it, but it's a pretty good film where this young boy, everything is fine in his life and he's about to go to college and things like that, but deep down he wants to go down a different path, which is go right into the wild. And so he does that, and it's very similar to that calling that young boy experiences. I've got the same calling. Millions of people have that calling. But I actually decided to act on it. Rather than sitting there and spending years just sort of thinking about it and dreaming of it, I actually did something about it. So this year I sat down with my husband and I was like, look, I'm going to be honest with you, the way in which I'm living doesn't match up with who I really am, and I'm not thriving or blossoming, and I really, really want to listen to that calling and go into the wild. And I know it's not always possible, but can we start thinking about it? And my husband so kindly understood what I meant, and he himself had the same calling. So we both put the house up for sale, and we sold it a few weeks ago, and then we bought our van this week. I guess that inner calling that I'm talking about didn't just come out of nowhere. It's basically because I've been living in the suburban / city life for 28 years. Okay, and I've always lived in a very kind of big house. Okay, I've been lucky enough to live in a safe environment all the time. You know, crime rates have always been low. I've been blessed to have, you know, a beautiful house to live in all the time. But in all of that, all of the years that I've lived in houses like this, there's always been something missing, or something didn't sit right with me. I always felt so far away from where I really wanted to be, which was essentially kind of in the middle of nowhere, but not completely. I'm just going to go into a little bit more depth so you really understand this. So last year there was a point, right? I would just wake up, you know, press that washing machine button, chuck all the clothes in, and just let it do, you know, let that machine do its thing for me. And then I would be putting packets of food onto a pan on the stove, you know, like a rushed job, you know, cooking in 20 minutes, you know, absolutely no sort of slow living there at all. And then, you know, the TV would be in the background because my husband and kids love watching TV, and that would always be in the background. And I would just, I think I was like, I reached a point where I was like, oh my gosh, is this really my life? Is this really how I want to be living? Just everything rushed, all these buttons, pressing all these buttons to do things for me. And there was just, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is not the way I want to live. I can't be doing this. Like, where is any of me in all of this? And I'm a person who likes to live slowly, simply, likes to take my time with things. You know, even if it's cooking, I love to make things from scratch, you know, cutting those vegetables up myself, you know, putting all the spices and things like that, putting it together and creating something beautiful. You know, I love to wash my clothes by hand and, you know, take my time and put it on the clothesline. I know this is going to sound a bit weird, but even when I have a shower, right, I'm just surrounded by 4 white painted walls. And I used to have river baths when I was in Australia. I used to always have a bath in the river, and I miss that so much. You know, and this is going to sound a bit extreme, but even going to the toilet, like I would rather take a dump on the ground. You know, I know that sounds a bit weird to people, but what I'm essentially trying to say is living in this way was too convenient. It makes people become too lazy. And I found myself almost becoming like that because I lost that part of me in the way in which you don't use your brain. You let all these machines and tech do things for you. Everything becomes so quick. And that is not the life I wanted to live for the rest of my life. So that is why this year, as you can see in all my videos, you know, I've actually been doing the things that I truly am, being that person who I really am. And that means living a life that is also very slow living, around nature, around animals. You guys, I miss seeing animals. I do not remember the last time I saw an animal, except for like some random seagull trying to, you know, pick at some food that someone's left on the ground. You know, I miss seeing animals in the wild. And I went to Scotland a few weeks ago, and oh my goodness, it was incredible to see, you know, rabbits just hopping around, sheep just like on the mountains. I was like, normally they're all caged up, and it was just such a beautiful sight to see animals just doing their own thing. I think human beings came and destroyed a lot of their homes. And to know that there's still places out there where animals are still in their own home, you know, I want to be there and respectfully observe. That's where I want to go. And so living in this van enables me to open that door in this van and go run around on fields, run around on the sand in beaches, and see those animals, you know, breathe fresh air, you know, not, you know, stepping out of the house and seeing all these houses plopped along. Because every time I wake up and get out the front door, all I see is infrastructure, buildings, shops, car sounds, you know, people talking about meaningless things as they walk their dogs. I always see rubbish on the ground. I always see, you know, electrical lines everywhere in the sky kind of area. I barely see what I want to see, which is nature in its rawness and not stripped away. Like, not, sorry, what I mean by that is like, you know, people coming in and destroying the rawness of how Earth is, you know. I hope that makes sense. Essentially what I'm trying to say is, I feel like I was born in the wrong time period. I feel like I've been plopped in the wrong environment. And it also feels like I just want to go back to how life was, you know, many, many years ago, when it was simple. Like, there's ancient living ways where everything required your own, like, brain working and figuring things out, and, you know, getting up and, you know how we used to get up. Well, we wouldn't know, but years and years ago, people would get up to try and find their own food, try to survive. I know it was challenging and it was really hard, but there is something about that is so beautiful, surviving in such a challenging environment. I think there's something that makes it productive, that makes it feel like an accomplishment. And I want to go back to that, closer to that. I know it's not possible to completely live like that, because that's just the way in which we live, isn't it? It's not very easy to actually live in the wild, because the government even won't really allow that. You will get in trouble for it. We try to think about living in the middle of a forest, but no way, it's not possible. Because the government kind of has all these laws around it, and you just end up getting fined or go to even jail. So, you know, I'm not going to put that on my family. So that wasn't even possible, even though I would love to. I would absolutely love to. You know, if I could drop everything, I would go. And the other biggest reason why I'm doing this is because I do have a deep concern for my children being raised in this kind of suburban city life and going to school here. So many kids here would walk with their phones in their hands, you know, going to school. And it breaks my heart seeing so many teenagers or even young kids with their phones and just, you know, not interacting with each other. And I feel like they're not living their life to the fullest, and it breaks my heart because it's not their fault. There's no restrictions being placed, and it's so essential for a child and teenager to, you know, interact and bond with other kids and, you know, have a laugh, you know, tease each other, banter. And I don't really see that. I see lots of children walking around together but with their phones and just scrolling, and I was like, I know for a fact I can educate and guide my kids, you know, so much in the right way, but once they're out in the world, you know, society will have an impact on them. And I was like, I know for a fact if they do schooling here and grow up here, I know they would end up like that, even if I tried to pull them in the right way. So I was like, I've got to act fast. So I put them in a school in Scotland, and you guys wouldn't believe it, but there are 11 kids in the whole school, and that is amazing. That is just incredible in my eyes. I feel like I was talking to the principal. He was saying it's a family oriented school. The kids all have a bond with each other, the 11 kids, and it's like they all care for each other, and they're all there for each other, and they actually all know each other properly. You know, all the teachers actually know them. I think most of us go to schools with like hundreds and thousands of kids where the teachers don't even really know us. So how are they supposed to actually guide us and, you know, educate us properly? So my kids are so blessed. They're so lucky that they're going to be going to this country called Scotland, a school that has 11 kids with nature all around. It's the perfect gift I can give to my children. So that is another big reason as to why this is happening as well, why we're choosing the van life over the traditional home setup. And on a side note, my husband, he will be working from Monday to Friday in London City. So I will be with my kids from Monday to Friday, and then he will come on the weekends. That's the setup. So for those of you who don't understand how on earth I have so much time to myself, or how I'm developing spiritually, that's because I do have a lot of time to myself, as you can see, Monday to Friday. And yeah, so I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and I hope it gives you an I hope it kind of shows you how you can live differently if you really wanted to. You do not have to do the norm, the mainstream. You can, with planning, you can make anything work, and patience, and you know the hard work required to get there as well. You know, this wasn't easy. It took us time, you know, lots of planning, and waiting, you know. Yeah, there was so much involved, but yeah, I love you guys so much, and sending you all guys so much love, okay? And I hope you guys could relate to some of the things that I've mentioned here. Yeah, and I would really suggest that you guys watch Into the Wild. It was a good film based on a true story. I think it was based on a true story. So yeah, if you're into films, and watch that, you'll understand that kind of calling that I'm having, and possibly something you have as well. Take care and have a wonderful week. Bye.